Hello, everyone. In today's session, we will be discussing pre-processing of remotely sensed image data using atmospheric correction. Our main focus of today's lecture will be the application of atmospheric correction algorithms on the Henry and Lothian Islands of the Sundarban region of West Bengal in India. Before we delve into the atmospheric correction algorithms, and before we start demonstrating the processing methodology using software, we would like to discuss on why atmospheric correction is required. Why is it necessary? Now, as we are focusing on the pre-processing of Hyperion sensor acquired hyperspectral data in this lecture, uh, I would like to mention that the study area on which the atmospheric correction algorithm will be applied on is the Henry Island of Sundarbans, and it is a mangrove forested area. It is a mangrove forested island in the Sundarbans region of West Bengal. Now, our objective will be to compare the uncorrected data that is directly downloaded from the USGS website and the atmospherically corrected data after application of atmospheric correction algorithms. Now, before I start discussing on the atmospheric correction algorithms, I would like to mention that the reason for selection of the study area is that the Sundarbans Biosphere Reserve of West Bengal is an ideal locale where hyperspectral image data can be successfully utilized for accurate mapping of numerous mangrove species that exist there. Now, prior to classification of the imagery, several corrections are required to be made for pre-processing and meaningful interpretation of the data. Now, atmospheric correction is one such crucial correction and pre-processing step, which is done to minimize the effect of atmospheric agents that alters the actual radiance data that the sensor should represent. So in this study, we will try and analyze the spectral signatures of uncorrected and corrected data. That is the spectral profile um, of the mangrove end members after atmospheric correction. So this is what we will try to do. We can see here that after downloading hyperspectral data from a source, the image on the left is uncorrected data, is the spectral profile of uncorrected data that does not represent a profile of mangrove in members or vegetation. But after application of atmospheric correction algorithm, the image on the right-hand side represents a correct vegetation profile or a correct signature of vegetation after application of atmospheric correction algorithms. So this is how one can prove that the data has been atmospherically corrected. We plot the spectral signatures of the different target objects or different end members present in the study area and try to see whether the signatures that are finally extracted from the corrected data represent the true signatures of the objects that they represent or not. So before we start the demonstration of atmospheric correction algorithms, let us briefly try and understand why we do atmospheric correction. As you all are students of geoinformatics, so you should know that the basic objective of remote sensing is to characterize the properties of the objects through detection, that is object detection, uh, registration of the images, and its analysis. So when an image is acquired, the mechanism of acquisition of this radiation is not ideal, because there is a presence of an extremely dynamic medium, that is the atmosphere, in between the sensor and the Earth's surface. So this atmosphere interacts with the electromagnetic radiation, leading to a significant alteration in the incoming radiant flow from the target. So here, it becomes a necessity to lay more stress on the minimization of atmospheric influences on the acquired imagery through the application of atmospheric correction algorithms. So, to demonstrate the importance of atmospheric correction, then later on you will learn geometric correction also. I will focus, or I will take the example of atmospheric correction of the dense mangrove forests of Sundarbans as the target area for this particular class. Okay, so which algorithms are normally used for atmospheric correction? Now here, there are numerous atmospheric correction algorithms available. In fact, the remote sensing or image processing softwares that are available, they have separate atmospheric correction modules with them. Now, as I have given you the ENVI software, I would like to focus on the atmospheric correction modules that are available in the with the ENVI software. So there are two modules available. One is QAC, Quick Atmospheric Correction module, and the other is FLASH, FLAASH. So first, I will demonstrate QAC, which is which executes faster and which requires less information as input. And then after that, I will discuss FLASH, which gives a more accurate output after atmospheric correction. So I will apply both these algorithms, the QAC and FLASH algorithms, for the atmospheric correction of hyperspectral images of the Henry Island of Sundarban that I just downloaded. Okay, so this is visible, the ENVI
Yes, ma'am.
software screen. Okay. See, I have directly opened the image. Do you want me to show you how to open an image in ENVI software? Or
yes, ma'am.
You can do it yourself. Okay. Then let me close everything. You open ENVI, open the image file. Now, where I have downloaded the image, So I have downloaded the image and then I have extracted its contents. Now for display of the image, I have to select the .L1R extension image. .hdr is the header of the image. Okay, so I select the .L1R image. I told you just now that a .L1R image is not corrected. It is neither atmospherically corrected nor is it geometrically corrected. So I select this file and I open it. Now, when I open it, you can see that a window, a dialog box appears where these are the bands that are available in the hyperspectral image. If you count the number of bands, you can see that there are a total of 242 bands, and each band represents a specific wavelength value. So I have discussed with you earlier also, or it is available in the videos that I provided, what an electromagnetic spectrum is and how the different wavelength bands are there. The wavelength bands comprising of the visible range. There are bands comprising of the infrared range, microwave range, and so on. So the visible range starts from 400 to 700, starts at 400 nanometers and covers a range up to 700 nanometers. So if you see here, the range that this hyperspectral image covers, it starts from, the first band starts at 355 nanometers, 355.59, then 365, 375, 386, up to 2000. What is the final range? The final range is 2577 nanometers. So in hyperspectral image, another thing that you should see, you should try and understand is that there are 242 bands. That means the image is captured in 242 wavelength intervals. The same image, the image of the same study area is captured in 242 wavelength intervals. The first interval is 355.59 nanometers, the first wavelength band. Now this particular sensor captures the spectral resolution of this sensor, of the Hyperion sensor, is 10 nanometers. That means it captures the image in an interval of 10 nanometers. So after every 10 nanometers, an image is captured. So the first image is captured at 355. The second image is captured at 365 wavelength band. The third is captured in 375 and so on. Okay. So at every 10 nanometer wavelength interval, the image is captured. So if you want to view the image that is present in the first band, I double click on this. You can double click and see, or you can just select and click load band. It will be visible to you. See, as I told, that this band is totally dark. There is no information. The second band is also dark. The third band is also dark. Let us move on to the ninth band. There is some information. So let us move on to the eighth band, the seventh band. See, up to 7, there is no information available. So you have to remove these bands when you finally consider the data set for further processing, you have to remove these bands. So when you go to band 8, here also you can see that there are some stripes in the on the image. So these stripes may also lead to an error in final processing, in processing of an image. So you may not consider this image also. Band 9, band 10, band 11. As you move towards the higher side, you can see that the image is getting clearer. Band 12 and 13. Okay, so it is up to you. You have to first select the bands that are select the back bands, which may not have any information, which may have information, but the image is very hazy, or there is a lot of absorption in the image. So you remove those bands. Now, the image that you are seeing here is a resized image. This is not the actual strip that was acquired. While downloading the data, you may have seen that the strip is an elongated strip. It's an elongated strip, and it covers many islands together. But what I have done here is I have resized the image, and I have selected only the Henry Island of Sundarban. There are images above towards the northern side also. There are more images that was acquired by the sensor, but as my area of interest is only Henry Island, so I have resized the image. You can further resize the image also, like say this is the tip of Lothian Island visible. Now if you want to concentrate just on this part of the island, and if you want to remove these portions, then we can further resize the image. Let me show you how resizing is done. Go to basic tools, resize data. Here you select the image that you want to resize. So I have already resized it before, so I select the resized Henry output. Now you see on the right hand side corner, you have some information about the image. See, the wavelength is from 355 to 2577 nanometers. Then the spatial resolution is not available, not written over here, but actually, as geometric correction of the images has still not been done, the latitude, longitude values, the projection and all, it is not mentioned over here. These are the properties of the image that was directly downloaded from the Earth Explorer website. So I select the image. Now, spatial subset, if I select this, and you can specify the coordinates which you want, up to which you want to resize, or if you do not know the coordinates, you can directly click onto image and you can select the area. See, I have further resized the image, and I am selecting this portion. Click OK. Again, click OK. Now, spectral subset. Spectral subset is here, all the 242 bands are selected now. Here, if you want to remove some bands, as I said, if you want to remove some bad bands, and then you want to save the output image, that also you can do. Here, all the bands are selected. Now, after you see the images band by band, you can also select only the useful bands for you, and then you can click OK. And I click OK over here. Now, there is a resampling method. Why resampling is here? Because you are resizing the data, isn't it? You are resizing the original information. Now, that means you are resampling as well. So, there are certain methods of resampling, like nearest neighbor, bilinear, cubic convolution. I will tell you the meaning, these methods. I can explain these methods to you, or I can tell you where you can get information about these methods. But right now, let us concentrate on the atmospheric correction. So here you have to select the method of resampling, and then you select an output file name. Let me select the same name that was earlier selected. It is not here. It is not available here. So let us do one thing. Let us just give a new name, resized image Henry Island. Click OK. So this is a resized image, and in this box you can see that the resized image has this is the output. Okay, now if you I'm not selecting the first 7 bands because it does not have any information. Let me select band number 11, and selecting on to band number 11, you can see that this is a resized image of Henry Island that we have got. Now, if you want to see what is here, you can explore the ENVI software, and you will be able to know what are the different features and functions of this image, of the software. So this is the resized image. Okay. Now, why is this image dark? This image, why is this image appearing dark? Because I'm opening a band in the 457 nanometer wavelength region. Now, as this is Henry Island, and as this has a lot of vegetation in it, because this island has mangrove forests, so in which band is vegetation or forest very well represented? The vegetation is very well represented in the infrared band. So the infrared band starts from 700 nanometers. So if I select an image from this band, 700 nanometers, this is the image that we get. And if we move further, further down, like say 752, this is comparatively brighter. If we select 803, then this is again brighter. Why brighter? Because in the infrared region, the vegetation reflects most in the infrared region as compared to the other wavelength regions. So if you want to view vegetation in its brightest form, then you should always open the image in the infrared band range. So starting from 700 nanometers up to say 1500 nanometers, there are different divisions, no? Near infrared, mid infrared, far infrared. So this is the near infrared region. And when you click or select an image, so this is how the image of the Henry Island looks. And this is totally black. This is the Bay of Bengal. The water body is totally black in the infrared region because why is it so? Because in the infrared band, uh, why is it so? Can anyone tell me? Water absorbs infrared radiation. Water totally absorbs infrared radiation, whereas vegetation reflects infrared radiations very much. That is why when you are seeing this image in the infrared band, water is black and the vegetation is brighter as compared to the other bands. Okay, so this is how you view the image. Now, if I want to see the spectral signatures of different objects in the image, uh, how to do it? Spectral signatures means uh, I'm sure you have gone through the videos that I have given you, and you all must be well aware that each and every end member has a unique spectral signature. So if I select a particular area and if I want to plot the spectral profile of this area, then how to do it? You can either select it from basic tools, or you can just right click and go to Z profile. See, here what happens, you have selected a cloud, and this is the spectral profile of a cloud. Keep in mind that this is uncorrected data. You have still not corrected the data. So the uncorrected information gives you inaccurate spectral profile. This is a forest area or a vegetation area. And when I'm seeing the spectral signature of vegetation over here, this does not represent the profile or signature of vegetation. When I'm selecting a pixel from the water body, this is not representing the pixel of the actual spectral signature of water. This is the aquaculture region. This is a pixel of the aquaculture region present in the island. So this is again not a spectral profile of water. Okay, so for this proves that the data is uncorrected, because ultimately the pixel values, we have to work with the pixel values. We do not have any other information. We have to work with the intensity values of the pixels, and if the intensity values are erroneous, then further processing will yield inaccurate results. So the first step that we need to do is atmospheric correction. And why we need to do atmospheric correction, that I just now explained, that why the error in the intensity values occur. It is due to the atmosphere in between. And when the radiation finally reaches the sensor, the values, the radiation values, they get altered. So you need to correct the erroneous values or the altered data. So for that, you need to perform atmospheric correction. I told you that there are, as we are using ENVI software, we will be following two modules: quick atmospheric correction and flash. So first of all, let us see how the flash correction module works. So it is present in basic tools. Go to pre-processing, calibration utilities, then quick atmospheric correction. Now let us select the image The resized image is this resized image, Henry Island. Click OK. See here, you have to select the sensor type because there are different kinds of sensors that capture data, and based on the sensor type, the atmospheric correction will be done. A Hyperion sensor is located at a certain height. Similarly, the Landsat sensor is located at a certain height. The heights of different sensors vary. The properties of different sensors vary. So based on the kind of sensor, the atmospheric correction will be done accordingly. So here, as the sensor is Hyperion, we select Hyperion. And after atmospheric correction, we have to give a file name. So let us write QAC corrected module of Henry Island. Okay. So this is the final output. Now again, let us open one image. So this image, do you remember which band this is? Okay, if you do not remember, let us just open another band 1033. Say I select this band and I want to display it in another window. So let me select a new display and load band. So this is another image. This is the atmospherically corrected image. This is the atmospherically corrected image after applying quick atmospheric correction. Now, let us see the difference in the spectral profiles of the two images in a of a particular coordinate for a particular coordinate. Now, let us select this area. This area. The spectral profile, sorry. If you select this area and click onto Z profile, this is the profile of this location in an uncorrected image. Now let us go to the same location in the corrected image and click onto the Z profile. We are getting the spectral profile. The location may not be exact because I'm not pointing to the images based on their latitude, longitude values or the XY coordinates. I'm just generally selecting a location which is close by. So see here, I know that there is vegetation or forest in this area. So when I click onto a location, the spectral profile should show the profile of vegetation. So this is the profile of vegetation. Okay, there is a peak in the green band, then there is a dip in the red band, then in the infrared band, that is after 700 nanometers, the values, the intensity values increase significantly in the infrared band, and then there are certain dips and peaks, but in general these values are more than the values that are there in the visible region. So this is the profile of vegetation in the corrected image, and this is the profile of vegetation in the uncorrected image. So if you want to identify an object based on its spectral profile, then this does not represent the profile of vegetation. So the identification will not be accurate at all, because actually there is, as I told you, that before atmospheric correction, there is a lot of error in the intensity values, radiance values. So this is how we can see that after atmospheric correction, the values totally change. Let us see another point. This is a water body, and this is the spectral profile of a water body. And here again, this is the corrected image, and this is the actual or the correct spectral profile of water. So clicking on to different portions of the image, you can find out how the values, how the radiance values have been corrected using atmospheric correction. So this, if I click onto a cloud here, this is the profile of an uncorrected image, and if I select here, this is the correct profile of cloud in the corrected image. Okay, so this is an output of atmospheric correction using quick atmospheric correction algorithm. Going back to the atmospheric corrected spectral profile of the study area, this spectral profile can be interpreted statistically also. Now, here we can see the spectral profile before atmospheric correction and after atmospheric correction. We have demonstrated this along with the software as well. So here, as our main area of focus are mangroves, we have taken a spectral profile of the forested segment, as we can see here. Now, it has been observed that in the visible portion of the spectrum, the chlorophyll in the plants absorbs blue and red wavelengths more strongly than green, producing a characteristic small reflectance peak within the green wavelength range. The reflectance then rises sharply across the boundary between the red and near infrared wavelengths, which is primarily due to the interactions with the internal cellular structure of the leaves. So from this profile, we can observe the enhancement in the vegetation feature class after running the QAC correction module. So here we can see in the profile of the atmospherically corrected image that there are a number of narrow contiguous peaks in the wavelength range of 750 to 1500 nanometers range as well. So after application of QAC module, there has been an enhancement in the vegetation feature class as compared to the original hyperspectral data. So with this, we come to an end of the session of atmospheric correction using QAC or Quick Atmospheric Correction module. In the next session, we will continue with the atmospheric correction process and see a demonstration of the correction using Flash correction module. Thank you and see you in the next class.